I was there. I don't have to listen to it.
This week's show because it was a disaster.
When you live in a beach resort, it's easy to forget whether you are playing or working. On each week's show, we settle in with a cocktail and try to figure out if there is a difference. This is Day Drinking on Delmarva.
I was like, hey, you want to do this live? And I'm like, sure.
Yes, I am Todd from GoodCleanFunLife.com.
And I am Tony Russo, no relation, and you're listening to Day Drinking on Delmarva, a podcast about life and culture on the Delmarva Peninsula. We used to come to you live from the Crowbar, but we literally haven't done that in about a year. So we're making up a new one as we go along, starting now.
Perfect. Well, technically, we are live on the live at the Crowbar on the Facebook page.
Correct, and we're live at the Crowbar. Half of us are. Mm-hmm. Excellent secret spot in Berlin. I am neither in an excellent secret spot because I'm in Delmar, and that's all you need to know about me, I guess. So much to get to talk to about today. I'm sorry I just stumbled there, but I just remembered the most important story of the week.
Oh, good.
And I need to prepare Todd in advance because not only didn't I say anything to him, but I also said I wasn't going to say anything controversial this week. I didn't lie. I only forgot.
Okay.
Each week we talk about one cool thing, but before we talk about the one cool thing that happened to us because we work here or as a result of us working here, we talk about our sponsors. Our sponsors are the drinks that we're drinking. If you'd like to sponsor us, send us a drink and we'll drink it and we'll thank you. But for right now, we just make our own drinks. I am sponsored today by the 20th century. The 20th century is a gin drink with gin, Lillet Blanc, lemon juice, and chocolate. What's it called? White cream de cacao.
Oh, wow.
And it's pretty tasty. It tastes, I know I'm not a big fan usually of the sweetie drinks, but it tastes a little bit like, have you ever been fortunate enough to get a lemon Tootsie Pop?
I'm not sure that. Yeah, no.
They're kind of rare birds. They're not like cherry and grape. They're because sometimes they're banana or something awful, but sometimes they're lemon, and it's very much like a lemon Tootsie Pop.
Okay.
That kind of vibe. But what I like more about it is that it's not named after the time period, but rather after the rail line that it was served on. So this is from the 20th century train.
Right.
That ran between St. Louis and and Los Angeles from 1935 to 1967. So
yeah,
the idea of drinking this on a rail car as I speed across the Midwest, probably smoking a cigarette, is just, I like the drink more for the fact that I'll never have it in its original context than I do for the way that it tastes.
Right.
Like, I just like to imagine how, and that's what people say. Like, I don't hate black people, but when people say make America great again, I think they mean they want to have a 20th century
on a rail car.
Right. That's what I mean. And I want black people to be allowed in the rail car. I think that's why I'm not invited to the Make America Great Again.
Serving you, Tony. Jeez.
Todd said something worse than me today. Excellent.
Let's I'm celebrating. I'm chilling the champagne because by George, we're tired of all the winning and democracy is being restored. It's a new day in America. But until the champagne is ready, I'm drinking my bullet bourbon. Hopefully to take the edge off so that if Tony threatens to kill any public officials, we won't be, I don't know, the plausible deniability, maybe, I don't know.
One of the things that's that I'd like to touch on that just really quickly. This is very selfish to say, but over the last 4 years, every time I've released something, he's done something maniacal and no one has heard about my new thing. So probably a good day to say. So for instance, my one cool thing, and we'll talk about it later, but like I signed with a publisher. So I'm going to have my book is going to be published by a legitimate publisher instead of being self-published by me. And I would love to send out an email blast about that today, but guess what? No one cares.
Right.
No one's, but I'm hoping that when my book comes out in March, I mean,
yeah, hopefully by then things have settled down.
I wouldn't bet on it. I feel like once I have a firm release date, it's going to end up being the day he is allowed back on Twitter or buys Twitter or something like that. So I'm cautiously optimistic that this is the last time he's going to ruin an announcement of mine. Although for the last 4 years, like This Is War came out and he I don't know, made fun of the of the disabled guy on television. It was like every time I had something happen, it's like, well, we're all going to talk about the president now. So hopefully this is the last announcement that no one will hear because the president's done something kooky.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny, you know, we're very pleased of what's going on. Of course, my radical children are still, toting like, oh, we're just replacing one old white man with another old white man. I'm like, no, but there is a big difference in competency and just, the collective consciousness of a nation. There's still going to be 70 million people. And of those 70 million people, some are going to be more crazy than others. I think you'll be able to leverage that when your new book comes out, because you're already talking about, drinking, you're coming to us from your basement.
Right.
You're talking about conspiracy theories. It's like, how long till you actually get looped into the?
I'm so ready to go on the conspiracy theory. But one of the things so here's my conspiracy theory thesis, in case I haven't shared it with you. And if this is your first show, welcome. Thank you for listening. I wrote a book. I'm going to talk about it a lot for the next 2 months. I didn't talk about it a lot in the previous shows. So just so you know. So my book is coming out. It's called Dragged into the Light and something, Sherry Shriner. I might just subtitle it something, Sherry Shriner, because we've keyworded the hell out of that just in our conversations over the last 6 weeks.
You're right.
And it deals with conspiracy theory, and it deals with a couple of deaths around a conspiracy theory cult. But what I'm really interested in getting people to understand is that they're not wrong.
Right.
They're just overwrought. And I think I actually literally wrote that, right? What Trump did.
They believe what they believe as reality.
No. They're right. The government hates you. Big Pharma hates you, right? And the church wants to rape your children. They're not wrong. They're just overwrought.
Mm-hmm.
And we need that kind of stability. What I think Trump did successfully, if I can compliment the man for a moment, is he paid lie to the idea of civil service. He's like, no one gets into politics unless they're going to take as much as they can,
right,
for as long as they can, and then they get out of it. Now that is true.
Mm-hmm.
But what we need as members of the middle class is the pretense of civic service, of civil service. We need someone to pretend that they also care about the country while they line their pockets.
Right.
And Trump didn't pretend. And that was like, when they're like, he's a real guy, they're not wrong.
Right.
He was. He's like, yes, when you become president, you steal as much as you can for as long as you can until you get caught or unelected.
Mm-hmm.
But you also should do nice things for the people who elected you. And he was too self-centered to do that. If he had done anything nice for anyone, he might be president still.
Yeah.
And that's the weird thing, right? And that's the thing that I try to bring out in the book is, there isn't a conspiracy, but the people in the government don't have our best interests in heart. The anti-vaxxers aren't wrong. Like someone at, I don't know, I'm going to make up My brother's in the pharmaceutical industry. So someone at Ajax Pharmaceuticals, someone at Ajax Pharmaceuticals does the math, just like in Fight Club, and says, well, this will probably kill 1 out of every 5,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
We can afford that.
Right. Because it's going to make a lot of money for us.
And also it's going to cure 4,999 out of 5,000 people. Like that's,
yeah.
When you put it like that, you're like, oh my God, they're right. But they're not, because there's not a plan. The only plan is I'm greedy and I only care about myself. And the degree to which you're good at hiding that makes you a target or not a target for a conspiracy theory.
Well, and I think I had a friend say something about elected officials, and it's the realization, or drawing the example that they are no more better or smarter or greater than ourselves. They have the same information. They have all of that, and you should pay attention to them. And I think that's where, I don't know, probably the more liberal side of me is like, well, then that's why you vote on character versus anything else, because there are going to be Democratic policies and there's going to be Republican policies. And I always, being the psychology major, I'm trying to put myself in the mindset of the other person just to see what it is they are all about. And, it's
well, there was a George Carlin thing. Well, there was a George Carlin thing going around for a while, which is like, when you have a stupid populace, when you have a corrupt populace, you're going to have corrupt politicians.
Yeah.
They're a reflection of us. And the blog posts that I hope to actually start posting, I've written them, I just haven't organized them, kind of get at that. Like, there is this idea that it's easier to point at idiots and say, look how dumb they are, because then you don't have to admit how culpable you are.
Right.
We don't want to be, and I don't want to be, I'm not pointing a finger at anybody else, but we don't want to be the one to blame. And if we can find, like, I don't recycle, I don't know, I have moral failings as a person.
Right.
And I can either address my own moral failings, or I can find someone whose moral failings are so much greater than mine that I can go on being a little more shitty than I should be, because everyone else is so much shittier.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to start thinking about. That's spoilers. I mean, please still buy the book, but we profit from this. We enjoy saying how stupid other people are. And while we're doing that, we're getting more vicious and less empathetic.
Well, and to clear the air, we don't profit from this podcast at all.
Oh, no, not at all.
In general.
Yeah, no. We so.
But if you'd like to be an advertiser on,
yes, please.
Two straight white guys in their basement talking about.
Oh, I saw
how good they are.
I meant to cut it and paste it and send it to you. I saw another podcast where their Bitmoji avatars were on their little square.
Uh-huh.
And I wanted to say, see how shitty this looks? And the guy was wearing my shirt. I'm going to see if I can find it, because I was actually working and I didn't have time to be silly. But the guy was skinnier than me. I'm the only fat person on Bitmoji. Why is that? I thought like 4/3 of America was overweight, but I'm the only fat Bitmoji I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I owe an apology to fat, unshaven men. And I guess I should give it now. If you're not watching on the television, A, I don't blame you. But B, you'll see that I'm unshaven. And this morning, or yesterday morning, days and times don't really happen much anymore. Sometime in the recent past, one of the new general manager of the New York Mets was revealed to be sending pictures of his genitals to young women and summarily fired. And he's a big guy. He's not as big as me, but he's got a beard and then that like neck overgrowth.
Yeah.
And as a fat person, I don't prefer to be unshaven. I feel like I look like Harvey Bullock, who is the bad guy, the corrupt cop in the Batman comics. And in the Batman comics, he's so gross.
Yeah.
And every time I go like 2 or 3 days without shaving, I'm like, wow, you look like you're gonna, I don't know, do something nefarious because you're a big slovenly oaf.
Yeah.
And I don't think other people look like that. I just think that's what I look like to me. Right. But then I saw this guy with his big fat waddle hanging down from his neck, and he's got the hairy thing. And they're like, he sent pictures of his dick to Tina. Of course he did. Of course he did. Look at his face. And so,
Of course.
When I'll go right out and say it for a fact. You can look at my internet history. You can hire a private detective. I'm not going down for any kind of sexual weirdness. I swear to Christ. But if I were to even be accused of any kind of sexual weirdness and someone saw a picture of me unshaven, they would say, oh yeah, no, he did it. Yeah. And so that's another reason I think it's critical to be shaved all the time. My daughter called me this morning and I got to go watch my grandsons, and like I hit send.
Yep.
The phone rang. Can you watch the kids? And I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
Yes, but I can't watch the kids and shave. And I almost deleted the tweet. I came this close. I nearly deleted it. I nearly deleted the tweet. But I said, you know what? Don't say it if you can't stand behind it.
Yeah.
Or at least you can't apologize for it. So
you're just proving your point, right? Yeah.
Oh, I think if you see, and of course I'm nice and red because I've been drinking, but I think if you see, I'm not so bad. I probably should put the light on. I forgot to put my light on for the video because I know people like to see me well lit. But yeah, it doesn't look as bad to you as it does to me. And that's the thing. And that's why I don't judge, other fat dudes, because it doesn't look as bad to the world as it does to me. But I already feel like gargantuan. And so to like have the Harvey Bullock thing going on is a little too much for me. And in the television show Gotham, Harvey Bullock is kind of like almost good guy, almost bad guy.
Oh, really?
And he's played by a skinny, unshaven guy.
Huh.
That's all I got to say. Like, they couldn't put a fat guy and make him not just bad because, again, you walk around, you've got the rumpled, overcoat, right? Yeah. You stinking of booze. You haven't shaved in 4 days. You're a bad guy. Clearly, you're clearly up to something creepy.
It's the matter of weight and an extra hair that you have is also the moral compass for your character.
Yeah.
We're just watching, never have watched it before. And we're watching The Sopranos starting with season 1, and it's so fun. But the crooked cop in that, in the first season, I don't know how long he lasts. Maybe he's the whole thing. Oh, well, yeah, he's already out apparently, but he, it's Kevin McAllister's dad from
John Hurt
from Home Alone.
Isn't that John?
Yes, I believe so. And he looks terrible. Like he's definitely fat. He's definitely disheveled and has a gray moral compass as an officer. So
it's not John Hurt. I gotta look it up. His name is John Hurd.
Hurd.
I know. John Hurt's the English guy, who was in V for Vendetta. I guess is something he's been in a ton of movies. John Hurd, Heard, is the guy from Home Alone.
But it makes sense that's how they were able to afford that trip to France with the whole family, because he was connected to the mob.
Possibly. I've never seen it. It takes place in New Jersey, which is cool. It takes place again, when they filmed it in East Orange, in Patterson, one of those places.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like they're in Patterson. I think they filmed in Patterson and the mob is supposed to be in Patterson. Fun fact about Patterson, New Jersey, birthplace of Lou Costello. So this show is
Of-
called
of
Fat
Abbott
Man.
of Abbott and Costello.
Yeah. I got to write that down. So I title the shows each week. I don't do them right after for some reason, and then I have to guess what the show is about. I'm like, what did I say? And this week, I obviously it was hashtagged Andy Harris is a boob for last week's show.
Mhm.
But I genuinely sat down and couldn't remember what I was going to hear when I hit play.
Right. Well, that makes it exciting.
Yeah, it's like I get to listen to it too, and it's not a bad show.
Yeah, I
You
kinda
should
like
listen sometimes.
I actually was listening the other day to 2 episodes ago.
My one cool thing this week, I already mentioned, but I didn't say the publisher's name, and I want to get to it.
Mhm.
So one cool thing about living on the Eastern Shore is that there is this kind of creative culture. Like people can live here and not make what would be a living in a normal place and still get by.
Right.
One of those people is Ron Souder, who owns Secant Publishing, which is in Salisbury. And he's a small time publisher. But many of his books have been, Baba Lockhart. Sorry.
Lockhart.
My Jersey came out. My Boston came out. My Irish, I guess, is what I would say. Barbara Lockhart, who's also from, I think, Long Island or something. She's from up by me. And she's a well-known local author, and she's won several awards. One of which was under the Secant imprint. And then another guy whose name escapes me, who wrote a book called The Oblate's Confession. The Oblate's Confession. It was fiction. I can't remember. Richard Pike, I think. But anyway, he published their books. He's well respected, and he's super fair. So he's taking over the publishing of my book. I'm very excited about that because I got to the point where I realized that I was just way out. William Peake. Sorry, I checked it on the internet. William Peake, who wrote The Oblate's Confession, and it's a great book. And check out anything that Barbara wrote is obviously, I don't know if it's obvious to you. It's obvious to me. If Barbara wrote it, it's going to be really good. Yeah. But Ron published her latest, which is something about dancing. It's a collection of short stories. So,
and I'm really excited for this book, and I'm really excited for the maybe more excited for the corresponding documentary that's going to go along with it. But I just can't help but to think that the two of them combined are they're really gonna put you on the map, Tony.
That's what we said about This Is War. I'm already trying to get my pee clean so I can get a job at Walmart, but we'll see what happens. Very excited though to Ron. So
yeah, that's awesome.
I am actually I know I'm kind of a kook, but when I'm not being a kook, I'm a legitimate writer. I earn my living by writing things.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a better definition for a writer than that.
Right.
And I reached out to Ron. I wanted to talk to him about publishing the book, and on the front page of his website, it's we're not accepting anymore. We're way in over our heads. Thank you for your interest, but we've got a lot of books kind of in the hopper.
Right.
And so I shot him a note and I said, hey, Ron, I know you got a lot of books in the hopper, but I needed a true crime editor, a nonfiction editor, a true crime, someone who kind of can work in my genre. Someone, and I don't know from editors, I'm blessed. I mean, Stephanie,
friends.
My friend Stephanie and my sister-in-law Katie Russo. I sent them what amounted to notes, and they sent me back comments that turned the notes that I sent them into a book. And I can't tell you how important that is to me.
Right.
But when I got my final draft back from the editor, she's like, "Did you say Ron wouldn't publish this?" And I said, No. I said Ron wasn't taking books anymore. She said, "Send him a note. Ask him if he wants to look at it. Tell him I said he probably should." And so I did send him the note, and I said, "Listen, I don't want to be the guy who's like, well, I know the publisher's personal email and
Right.
print my damn book. But Sandra said you should take another look at it and see if you have time." And I said, "If you don't have time, it's fine with me, but I need to have this out in March." And like 2 days later, he's like, "All right, well, we'll see what we can do to get it out in March."
Oh, cool.
So he's like, humping to get it done. And I'm really happy about that. So
yeah, I mean, it must cut the mustard if not only has he taken it on, but kind of not kind of under the gun a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's so if let's say Random House bought my book for me today, they physically they don't have the mechanism to have it out before 2022.
Well, yeah.
And that's if they super fast tracked it.
Yeah.
Right. And that was always my problem. I needed the book out faster than most publishers could. But Ron's a pro, and I'm happy to give him control of that kind of thing because I want to. I've got 3 other books I've already started. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't need to. I don't want to interview cover designers.
Right.
I can't come up with a subtitle for this damn book. I want that to not be my fault. I want to be able to say, you know what? No one bought my book because I had a shitty subtitle, and that was Ron's fault. That's
right.
Really. I want someone to blame. And if you want someone to blame, there's no one better than a publisher.
Yeah. Something crazy, something.
Yeah.
Something...
No, I have. Someone's here. I have actually a list of. All right, so here's the thing. Someone's knocking at my door. I think I'm just going to continue to let the dog bark at them.
Yeah, they'll get the message.
Because I don't need anything, unless they're knocking that, hey, your house is on fire. That would be bad.
Well, you'll find if the house is on fire, you'll find out soon enough.
We'll find out live on Day Drinking on Delmarva. So that was my one cool thing. And I know it took us a long time to even kind of get to your one cool thing. And I know you have an even cooler thing than I do, but I'm just chatty today.
Well, no, it's all right. And, we talk a lot about, podcasting, media production and writing, because that's what we do. And, so like with the theme of the show being about, cool things that happen at the beach, either because we live there here, because we work here. I mean, I think the bigger thing is that we get to work for ourselves right now. So you're able to take time. And my one cool thing was last week, I picked up a new hobby and caught up with an old friend. If you've been listening to the show, you know that I've been working on this wood parlor, as we call it, but a separate space in the house where the past week had a friend from college that I've actually, childhood friend, come down. He camped out there. We hung out outside under the heater, masked up and just were able to catch up. And then the next day he's been playing, disc golf. I almost said frisbee golf, but that's a big no-no. He's been playing disc golf for years. And, there is a course down in Snow Hill at the, John Walter Smith Memorial Park. And I went and I played, disc golf for the first time.
I'm sorry. I have to stop you for just a second.
Oh boy.
I don't want to sound like someone who doesn't want to use the pronouns that people prefer to have used.
Right.
How in the world could frisbee golf? It says frisbee on the apparatus that they're using.
No,
or is that the problem? It's like a Kleenex. It's like a name brand thing.
No, the discs are different. They're not, you don't, I mean, you can just use a frisbee.
They're not by Whammo.
Yeah. If you're an amateur like you, Tony, but Yeah, it not only is it called a disc, but you have different discs for driving.
Oh,
For
I've played Wii disc golf. I'm quite
oh,
familiar.
you know,
No, please tell. I just wanted to say that.
but it's one of those things, and you can play all over the place, and and they're usually at parks. They're usually free, or like a
No, we
small
have
fee.
them here. I just like I get that people who were in 1950s Disney films referred to as Eskimos take offense to that.
Right.
Because they're not, like, it's a made up name. I get it. I'll make, like, if I call someone a frisbee golfer and I have to get into a fist fight, if I have to apologize publicly for referring to it as frisbee golf,
Yeah.
I don't know I don't know what to do about that. That's a tough thing for me.
Right. You have many years. It's all your perspective. You have many years of calling a plastic thing you throw in a disc.
No, calling a frisbee a frisbee. I'm not afraid to call a frisbee a frisbee. Don't.
No, that's all you've ever known it as.
Yes.
So it's hard not to. It's hard to switch that. It's hard to make that left turn and be like, no, this isn't a frisbee.
What
Dad?
bothers me about the fact that you just gave me is that when I inevitably call it frisbee golf,
Yeah.
I'm going to remember that I'm being inconsiderate by doing so.
Right. And then
no one's going to call me on it.
Yeah, just barrel right through because
there's a lot of lists. I'm sorry. So you were playing frisbee golf in Snow Hill. You were playing disc aiming, throwing at stuff in Snow Hill.
Actually, and you'll love this. My favorite part is when my buddy Katz refers to golf, he calls it ball golf. Because he's so immersed in disc golf that they're like you can't just assume that golf means ball golf. You have to
quote the philosopher John Stewart. In Chicago, you call it Chicago style pizza.
Mm-hmm.
In New York, you call it pizza.
Yep.
Go ahead. I'm so sorry.
Well, it was fun. It was a great safe activity to do and inexpensive. And because we work for ourselves and there was a nice day last week, we were able to, I think it's something to think about.
And can we call this the official? Can we call this the official tease of a forthcoming announcement, or is that enough? Is that all we want to say about that?
Well, and I do. Yeah, no, we can definitely tease some new and big and different projects that we're going to be having for this year, which I'm pretty excited about, but nothing is final yet. And, so just gonna tease it.
Very cool. Well, we are up against it and nearly out of time. And I pretty much have said all the things I needed to say. And I said several things. I'm sorry. I failed to say several things that I promised that I would fail to say. And I'm going to need credit for that sometime in the future.
Yeah.
So I kept my mouth shut and I want people to know about it. But other than that, I got nothing. How about you?
I got nothing.
All right. Well, remember, until next time at the beach,
it's happy hour whenever you say it is.